work it that way. And I know that does a certain amount, but over that, I think live shows are important. I think, social interaction is so vital. I can't think of anything that's more vital than social media. And there are a lot of artists that don't want to do it. And I completely understand not wanting to do it, but you have to do it every day. I also think that you can't put too much music out. Some people may feel differently, that it sort of takes away that, the songs kind of take away from each other. But I think it's people need constant content. They constantly need to hear stuff that's new and different, and you just got to keep doing it. I think
churning it out.
Yeah, I think hitting up other artists on Instagram that you like, big and small, is really good. Sending them your music, you never know. Maybe you're the one thing that Drake decides to listen to, and the next thing you know, he's talking about it or wants to do something. Right. It's always worth doing that.
That's like the Gary V approach, right?
Exactly.
DM everybody.
Exactly. I mean, if you do 100 of those and one turns out and it's really good, then I guess it's worth it, putting yourself out there.
Yeah. I also tend to agree with you about the numbers game. Like, that's like a big thing I talk about a lot is, people are so precious about that one song, and it's just not like that anymore. You really got to just like finish the song, ship it, move on, do another one, and then eventually you're going to get like an amazing song that people will recognize.
And the old ones live there forever, so maybe all of a sudden you get a great sync somehow for an older song. Well, that song's up there with the rest of them. I mean, people go back to things all the time. So that's speaking awesome. Of sync and licensing is also
I was actually literally going to ask you about sync and licensing. So go ahead.
No, it's really vital, and it's obviously grown massively in the past decade or more. But I actually worked at a company called Secret Road that's based in LA. That's a sync licensing company that's been going for a while, and ran their publishing wing. And it's just amazing. I mean, the things they're able to deliver, and the amount of things they're able to deliver, it's just great. And even the small ones, even the MTV one, or the tiny bit of the band in the bar during the show, during whatever TV show, I think those are all great, and they all lead to another one. If you've had 3 of them, then when you go and try to get another one. And this is also you can blind send stuff to music supervisors and sync companies, and again, they might ignore it, they might not. I think it's worth trying, and even sending to companies if you're able to find out who the head of music is for American Express, whatever. I think it makes sense, because those can really help turn a project hot.
Yeah, I mean, I recently was on tour with Alex Clare. I don't know if you know him. He had a really big hit a bunch of years ago, and basically a sync made his career. Like that Microsoft commercial with Too Close literally made his career. And all of a sudden,
it can happen.
Like you were saying, his backlog was there, and then people found his record.
I mean, I remember Secret Road, they had artists that you've never heard, never, not even on a good day, heard of, who were totally making a good living just off, sync stuff. And, maybe they were somebody who never toured and played in their garage, but it's just a different world in the licensing world. Wow.
Do you have any other tips for getting your music sync licensed for TV, film, and commercials? Like any other hot tips?
I mean, it's definitely worth trying, and there's many sync companies and sending music. They do listen to it, I know, from having worked there. And, awesome. I'd say less things that are too wordy. Lots of dynamics are important. If you do have words in sort of an advertising way, home, peace, success, woman power, things like that, themes are always good. So.
Awesome. So we all know that music consumption has completely shifted to streaming. What are some strategies you think that the best way to utilize streaming networks in 2020 and beyond?
I think it all needs to be linked together. If you go on Spotify, the YouTube and Instagram, sites for the artist are right there on their page. And you can do the same, obviously, with the YouTube page and so forth. I think YouTube in some ways is actually more important than Spotify for breaking, and certainly in a younger audience, because most of the people I know who are under 20, let's say, that's the first place they go to check out music, not Spotify. So I think it's really important to have, even if you just have a lyric video, I think that's important to do. But otherwise, on Spotify, the playlist thing, which is really hard to get, but that's obviously a big deal. So, even if it's a small playlist, somebody that's got 1,000, followers, I think it's worth doing. It's just building. It's constant building little things. And look, another thing for up and coming artists is other countries. Reach out to Warner Germany. Reach out to Columbia Records in France. It's you never know, and they all put out records by people from other countries all the time. And something might start over there and blow up and then come back over this way. It's just everything's so global now that it seems a shame not to try to take advantage of it.
Totally with you on that one. Yeah, and Lizette, who put us in touch, Lizette Paulson.
Yes,
she said that like every single label, like division of a label has their own playlists, right? There's like there are so many playlists that you could like try to get featured on, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you can there's like we're saying, there's so many from small to massive rap caviar. But get one to get two to get three, it's a fight, and I think for new artists it could take 2 to 3 years to get to that point.
Wow.
I mean, it can, sometimes stuff happens, grind, but right? It is. And a lot of potential, a lot of live shows, and a lot of, so forth. I do think it's worth potentially hiring a promotion, marketing, third party, but then the cost is the factor, and it can be very expensive. And I know I know, just like everything else, I know plenty of people that have had success with it and plenty of people that have had a horrible experience with it. So it's sometimes it's worth trying. So
do the third party promoters and stuff are they able to do as thorough of a job as a major label?
Look, sometimes they do a better job than the major label. Again, it just depends, but they, usually the radio and the marketing are separate. So you'll get somebody that does the marketing, the press, the DSPs, all of that. And if you want radio, you have to go to a different company. Sometimes they're together. Radio is just very expensive to get that. But if you can get a place that can work those Spotify playlists, it's worth it. I mean, it really is. Even if it's not the biggest one, you got to start somewhere and just grind. It can obviously happen sooner, but I always think it's best to be prepared because it takes a while. There's a lot of people out there that you want to, get listening to your stuff. So.
Yeah, there's like a lot of noise. So if you persevere longest, maybe you'll be the last one standing.
Definitely.
Wow. Do you think there's going to be like a streaming network that is that rules them all, or do you think there's going to be like a healthy competition forever?
I really think that Amazon is going to be the winner in the end. I don't think they're
there.
I don't think they're there yet, but the advantage they have over the other ones is it's a loss leader for them. They don't care. They want to sell you T-shirts and shoes and tires. So if they're going to get everybody on that site, everybody's going to start using it. And like anything else, once people get used to something, then that's what they move to. I feel like Spotify is also less about the music than they are about the technology and. They're doing a lot of podcasts now, I'm sure, because they don't have to, pay for them, which is, it's awesome. But the record company, they just gave them the business. They really did, just like they did with Apple and the iTunes store. I think that the record companies just sort of were so excited to have something that they could sink their claws into that they gave it up. So
interesting.
And we have billboards outside our office with giant artists on them for YouTube and for Spotify, and I know the record companies pay for them, and they're not given to them by YouTube and Spotify. So it's like they're still spending upon spending. Not that they're not making money, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure. It was interesting the way you said that about Amazon, because like at the end of the day, it's like a loss leader for them. I feel like the same thing is true, could be said about Google, right? With like YouTube and Google formerly,
totally.
I guess Google Play Music, but Google Play Music was nobody was really using it except for me, to be full discretion. But now I've actually switched over to YouTube Play Music or whatever it is, YouTube Music.
Right. How is that?
Which is interesting. It's nice. The interface is much, much better than the old Google, and I've just grandfathered in at $8 a month, and I'm happy. So it's good enough for me. But I guess I have a free Spotify account because most people send me links on Spotify.
Right. Yeah, I feel like you gotta at least have that one. Some people swear by Apple Music. I've never really used it, so I don't know. I'm just used to this one. I don't even use Amazon after I said it was going to be the winner.
Right.
But yeah, just a feeling.
Okay, cool. Let's wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a while before that happens. And look, somebody else, a fourth party, fifth party, sixth party could sweep in and just have the right thing.
Yeah, I guess it's still new, so we'll have to see.
Yes.
So I just would love to hear some of the stories behind your career. Like you mentioned that you signed Lady Gaga the very first time. Do you care to share a bit about that?
Sure, no problem. She, this was back in the days of MySpace. A manager friend of mine told me one of his producers was working with this female artist and to check her out on MySpace. And I did. And she had a song called Beautiful Dirty Rich, which ended up on her album. And she just looked the part and sounded the part. And I thought she was super cool. And so I said, well, bring her in and we'll check her out. So she came in a couple days later, and I can still see her sashaying through that glass door like she was the shit. It was awesome. You know, she's was the same incredible confidence and attitude that she has now then. And she came in and sat at the piano and played all these songs and was so animated playing, and she was just amazing. And the whole A&R staff was there, and then I went and I got L.A. Reid, who was the head of the company then, and he came in and was just like, done, we're signing you. You're going to play the American Music Awards and the Grammys and all these things. It's going to be amazing. And we signed her that night, and by Christmas, so that was September, by Christmas time, I was told that L.A. didn't really know why we signed her, and then came back in January from the holiday, and he dropped her. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So it was kind of gut wrenching, but I was able to get her all of her songs back and get her out of the deal pretty cleanly. And then about a year later, she signed through this small label to Interscope. And then a couple months later, I actually was in the studio with another artist, and Red One, who produced her first album, was in another studio, and I had met him through the same manager friend, actually. And I went over, and he played me Poker Face. And I was like, oh, man. It was just immediate. I had heard Just Dance, but that one was I was just like, oh, boy, that's going to be massive.
Yeah, that's the first song I remember of hers.
Yeah, just so different and so catchy. And like I said, she just has that thing. Walks in a room and people turn their heads. And again, she did back then when nobody knew who she was. That's just the way, she just acted. She just had it down.
Yeah, wow. It's funny just like having seen the movie A Star Is Born to hear the actual origin story, which is like obviously way more real because it's like a fictional story. But
right.
It's just like it's all kind of like it. Yeah, it's special. It sounds really special. And tell me a bit about Avril Lavigne. What was that like?
So she got signed based on her voice. She, again, through a producer in New York who did a couple country-leaning singles with her.
But she's Canadian, right?
She's Canadian. She's from a small farm town north of Toronto. And she came down and sang. She did her songs, and I think she did a Shania Twain cover, but I could be wrong. That was it. Same deal. L.A. Reid signed her, and she was with. And then we started working on the record. She was in New York. I had her working with different writers and producers for 5 months. And then a manager asked me to have her. I was sending her to L.A., and a manager friend asked me if she would work with his clients, The Matrix, who then had like a Christina Aguilera Christmas